Hello, or welcome back to the To Be podcast. We are on episode 20, 19, 19, sorry, 19 now. And I'm here with Alexander. Now we connect. We've briefly, I don't know, we've actually briefly connect. We sort of just on socials, and then I saw you speak and showed me about your story, and then here we are. So, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for having me here.
It's okay. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, for those that don't know, I know, like you shared a very opened my eyes into different areas of sexuality, regarding like your story itself. So, who's Alexander?
Alexander wasn't always Alexander. I was born female, and I became Alex in the last. Officially, it's been a year, but yeah, it's been brewing for the last 3 years, I guess, and on the journey of identity and yeah, knowing who I am and what that means for me.
So, what made you have that initial like? Because this sometimes because I've spoken to some people. Or a couple of people that I know that are like, I wouldn't say like transitioning, but I've known parents of kids that have like this trend.
Questions and
Yeah, questions.
explored
Yeah, yeah.
and
I'm so curious to know, like, what was that initial thought process of you wanting to be a man?
yeah. I think when I look at it from the place that I'm in now, it's like I've always been super curious about like trans people in general and be like, oh, one day I wish I want to know more. Like I want to have a conversation with someone that's trans but I never really acted on it. And then 3 years ago, that's where it all started, where I heard a podcast about someone talking about gender identity and yeah, questioning. There were non-binary, but there was another trans person on the podcast, and I like that hit the sort of like the light bulb moment, and I was like, oh, well, that's me. That's why I've been feeling like shit for the last 10 years or more. And that actually fits how I feel inside. And so then I sort of like opened up that door and went on that journey of discovering and exploring what that meant for me.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, you got to feel that, and it's really interesting that you say that. Was there anything that you did or that you transitioned to open more of that up for you? Like, was any sort of tools or resources that you used to sort of help you or any sort of support you had at that time?
I mean, at that time, I was still pretty heavily into like substances and alcohol and all that. And I didn't really want to see it. Like it was a door when that opened, and I was like, oh, great, that gives me answers, but also like I don't want to deal with that. But I didn't really have another option now that I knew I couldn't unknow. And I think the first thing that really helped me get a healthy relationship with that identity with myself was first getting sober, which will be 2 years in July. And then, yeah, and then it was like breath work was the game changer for me. In like being able to release all the stress and that was stored in my body and that had been stored for years, understanding myself, being able to see myself clearly more and more, and yeah, release all that crap that's been stored, and that was the starting point of my journey of being like, oh, okay, I can see now and like peel the layers of the onion, if you will, and yeah, see clearer what was underneath all of the masks that had been wearing for so long.
Yeah, I find that I've spoken about it numerous times with a few guests, with breath work and podcasts I've been on. It's like breath work is like one of those tools where it's like you don't recognize. how important it can be, but
Oh
also
my
like
God, yeah.
how much stored trauma that we have within our body that we've kept for so long, even date back like timelines. It's like crazy, but in order for us to accept this, for example, accept like your part of yourself, or accept our part of ourselves, we've actually got to experience what that feels like in our body first and release those other belief systems. I don't know whether you have the same sort of go when it comes to breath work, but
Yeah, 100%. For me, it was that. And then it was like getting back into my body and like movement, a lot of just somatic therapy, movement, all that stuff. Like I've been in therapy for my whole life pretty much, and that kept me in survival. But what really got me over the edge of I'm not surviving anymore and I'm actually like thriving in life and finding all these higher vibration emotions was that the breath work that was for me.
yeah, that
Yeah,
comes that I think that's therapy is like one thing that people don't like talking about because it's like this conditioned belief around therapy. Oh, it's like shamed upon. But
100%.
I think it's definitely needed in any aspect of your life, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a coach. It's there to support your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual state. And that transition is like, okay, you've got to remove the shame and let go of that because the more you attach yourself with the shame to the therapy, you're going to actually perpetuate that same cycle, and that gets stored in the body, right? Um, which is great, but not great.
Well, no, it isn't. I mean, for me, therapy, there's a bit of a difference there that I like to sort of see. It was like, first of all, my parents were really ashamed that I went into therapy quite early on. So there was shame that was built in that context. But for me, it helped me. It kept me alive. So it was like, well, I like it. That's great. There wasn't so much shame coming from me on that part, but it was only kept keeping me alive. Like there was not that point of I didn't feel like I was getting better. I was just getting by. And to me, that's when I started doing a little bit more mindset and a bit more like life coaching that was more focused on the future rather than the trauma in the past and rehashing that over and over again. That's to me, that's this slight little, I don't know, subtle distinction between the two that have really made a big difference in how I live my life.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like that. There's something coming through. I don't know why it's coming through. As I said to you before we jumped on, I'm going to tune into whatever's here. But what was your life like at 13? The number 13's coming through. Like, do you remember what your life was like at 13 years of age?
Um, yeah, that's when I really started acting out and like I was 13 was a really hard age. Like puberty was really, really tough. And knowing that what I know now is like, well, yeah, I didn't want to be a girl. And at 13, there's that age where it's like forced and put on me. For me, it started at 11, but 13 was really the year where I started like, fuck you to everyone, my teachers, my parents, like it was coming out in really big um and outrageous kind of actions as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that must have been a pretty dark space of your life then. You were probably trying to break through and you were trying to like what's oh, it's you were like hiding, but also you were like trying to express yourself in a way that was more authentic to you. Would that
Think I was screaming for help. I was screaming for someone to see that I was in distress and I needed a hand, I needed help, but I didn't know what it was. There was no visibility. There was no, like, I didn't even question that it was the reason for all of that was that I didn't want to be a girl. Like, for me, there was no other option. So I didn't understand. I was just in so much pain, and I was desperately trying to get someone's attention, and all I got was punishment instead.
Oh, yeah, that's a big thing is like we as teenagers or as children we try and express ourselves in a way that's us, but then we get punished for the way we express ourselves, and it traumatizes us when we're older. Like I know for me that's definitely what's happened in my life, and that's why I love personal development, love healing, love all the things that we're both sort of like we love the resources, but it's like
Mm.
we've got to come to realization that us as human beings, if we want to evolve and we want to grow as human beings, we've got to come back to that connection because the more you punish someone for being who they are, the less they're going to resent you. And was there any sort of feeling like was any resentment when you were growing up towards your parents or towards family members that really triggered them in a way?
I think it. I don't know if I'd call it resentment. There probably was a little bit of that, but I think it was just it taught me that I wasn't okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That it's just created belief systems that I was wrong for being this version of me, and there was only one acceptable version of me, and so that just added on the masks of what was right and what wasn't. And like I'm also, and I don't like to identify with that, but it is present with me. It's like I'm autistic, and so there's also that, like, to me, the right and the wrong and the, like, black and white kind of thing. And so it was like, okay, well, this is wrong and I'm being punished, and this is right and I'm being rewarded when I'm being a good kid. And so that was just learning how to navigate what was right and what was wrong. And yeah, I think, to me, I didn't understand, and I couldn't really, yeah, I can't really understand resentment. I think it was more like it just taught me that there was a one way to be that was right and one way that was wrong, and me was wrong.
And how does that like now you look back then of the old version of you and where you're at now, where like what's been the biggest mask you've had to overcome and break through?
Oh, um, I think for me was that the gender mask of, like, I doubted, I from a really young age. Like, I hated wearing shirts, and I loved being topless, and it was a fight with my parents every time to, put a shirt on. And like from a really young age, I really associated with being a boy, and I think it was denying myself that truth. I didn't believe myself. And so it took me until I was like, 29, 30 years old to actually being like, I can do that. And actually I was right, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different path, but we're all on a different path. So yeah, I think, to me, that was the biggest mask that hurt me the most. It was like completely ignoring that, knowing that I had inside,
Mhm.
and doing all that unconsciously on top of it all.
Yeah, it's when we the moment we start we suppress those feelings. We then hide behind the mask that our parents want us to be. And then it's like we can't be our most authentic self in front of them because then we have all these emotions that are buried from the past.
Mm.
And how's that relationship with your parents now?
Um, we had a really big moment at earlier this year, actually, where I went back home. My parents are in France. That's where I was born. So yeah, I went back home for 6 weeks, and we actually like, put everything on the table and spoke about everything. And before that, it was kind of touch and go, and yeah, I lost touch and connection with them. Like, we spoke to say nothing kind of thing. And to me, that was like, well, there's nothing there. There's no connection. There's nothing. They don't know me at all. And what I really realized then, it was like I had already, because of all that, what happened in the past, I had already made up my mind that me being choosing to be authentic to myself and to my truth meant that I would lose my parents and my family. So before I even gave them a chance to get to know me, I'd already closed the door. And then I told them that I was gonna go, and I had surgery and I was taking hormones, and I'm transitioning from female to male, and they were really shocked, and they were like, "Oh, okay, that's a big thing to move through, but we're gonna be here for you and we're gonna try and understand." And then I was like, "Oh shit, okay, now I have to open the door." And and then we expressed everything that was unsaid, and from that moment it was like, oh, okay, well, actually, there was just a lack of communication, but underneath it all there was nothing wrong, and they didn't know that they hurt me in the way that they did, because they did the best that they could with what they knew at the time. And me understanding that, and like, yeah, it was just a big release of like, okay, we're, like, we hurt each other and we can move on from that now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is like that communication, and I'm noticing that within my own family, like probably this year as well, like the communication side of things are actually opening up because for me it's been a big thing for me to like speak up.
Mm,
And like I'm slowly getting there, and like there's things that I'm getting taught and learning that is allowing me to speak my voice more. And until you have those conversations, it's always going to be the same, right? And I've got friends in the space that have had those open conversations, and their relationship with their family is like beautiful. I mean, I have the conversation with my family, but it's like not to the extent of like having all of them around, sitting at a table and just opening up because they're still navigating the challenges within themselves to they accept me for who I am, but navigating the challenges of who I am now, as opposed to what I was a few years ago.
mm, mm. And I think it's also accepting like where they're at and in their capacity as well. Like, my parents aren't at all in anything that I am. Like, they don't understand my world at all.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
personal development, the like, they're like, the work hard, the money's hard, they're like, like old school mindset. And
That's
that's
fine.
okay.
Yeah,
That's where they're at, and I have to be okay with that. And I also have to let them know that I'm over here and they're over there, and we can still come together and we can still have these open conversations, and we can still not understand each other, and that's okay.
yeah, yeah. That's the biggest thing, and that's something that it's taken me a long time to accept. And it's like I'm been accepting of it for a while, but there's still like a little bit of there's a part of me that's like come on, come on.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm the oldest of five, so I've got my two brothers are very, very awoken because I've done my journey and they've experienced some stuff that I've invited them to, I've paid for, and so it's really great to have them. Like I have like two different worlds. I can speak to them about it, and then like the other side of the family is like a different energy, you know. But I wanted to go back because you mentioned about like you were mentioning to your parents like the hormone stuff. Like what like describe that feeling like of you transitioning from a woman to a man. Like what's that sensation within your body that people that are listening, that people that are that watching that can actually, if they're going through something like what you went through when you were 13 years old, or even if they're younger or older, like they can actually have a platform where they can hear someone like you. Like describe that sensation when you're going through the initial stage of the hormone therapy. What's that like?
Um, it's a wild ride. And basically, you're going through puberty again.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like it's it's like you're introducing a hormone that your body isn't familiar with, in the kind of dose that it's at. We all have female and male hormone like estrogen and testosterone, but obviously mine were really low because that's not the hormone that I was producing the most. And so when I introduced testosterone in higher dose, it was like, and we do it gradually. It starts with a really low dose, and we just sort of like, um, um, yeah, what's the word? Like put it up a little bit each time and gradually. And what it was just like all these feelings, like what you felt when you were a teenager of like you have all these feelings and nothing makes sense and you're hot and cold at the same time and you're hungry and you're not at the same time and you're like all of these conflicts with internal conflicts within. I'm like I had so much more compassion for teenagers going through that again with the awareness that I have now and understanding being able to see what was happening but not being able to control it because it's hormonal and you can't control what's happening within the hormone system. And it was like, okay, I'm just gonna be with it, let that pass, and like it will pass. But I have so much more compassion for teenagers that don't have that awareness. And so it's like one day at a time, just being a, like the more you're in your body, the easier it is because the more you can actually feel it and understand what's going on. The more you dissociate from that, the more reaction you're gonna get. Because yeah, in the beginning, the surge of testosterone, it's like it gets you more horny, more angry, more like yeah, you can probably relate to all of that when like you went from a a boy to into puberty. Like that's exactly what I'm going through right now. So now it's been 8 months, so it's sort of like stabilizing, but the first few months were yeah a little bit challenging. It was like wow, like what's going on, all these changing going on in my body, and I have to just sort of be with it and let ride the wave.
Yeah, it's like being adaptable to the energetics that's happening within your body. And that's why I always say like I promote about like understanding yourself and like educating yourself and learning about your body because it's something that I never got taught. And if you're young, like I wish I knew this stuff when I was 13, 13, 14. But fortunately we only know what we knew, right? And we have to go through those challenges in order to become who we are today. So thank you again for sharing. That's actually given me some insight into the masculine and feminine dynamics of every person because we all experience it, but I think you've experienced it on a much higher dosage than most people because you've just gone from this extreme to this extreme. Like it's like this it's like that wave of energy, like that adrenaline is like, I'm on fire now.
Yeah, and I think it's just like having the awareness of what's happening makes it a little bit more heightened, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's very interesting.
Wow, yeah, I'm just experiencing when you said imagine when I was having my puberty, yeah, that's wild. You put it like that, it's pretty simple, right? And if you don't know what that is, well then ask your parents.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But look, we've all been through puberty one way or another, and I think like just the changing in the hormones in the body doesn't matter which hormone it is, and whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter. The puberty is a stage that is challenging for anyone, and so like me going through it again, and like at 32 was even harder, I guess, because I'm like, fuck, like I feel like I'm a 14-year-old boy, but I've got the responsibility and the life of a 32-year-old. So it was like just navigating that as well was pretty interesting for sure.
It's a fun but deep but exciting journey, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it can be fun. I remember, I know that last year for me it was very dark and very the dark note of the soul sort of journey. But
Mm.
now this year's all been about having fun and tension and just sort of embracing the joys in my life, which is a good thing to wrap up on. I mean, oh, actually, I do like to ask this to most of my guests. It's sort of um, it's a piece for people that are listening and watching. It's like what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Um, don't disrupt your own peace for everyone else's. Yeah.
I like that. Don't disrupt your own peace for everyone else's. I was going to say comfort because that's
Yeah, comfort, peace,
yeah.
like I think internal peace and truth, for the comfort of everyone else. Yeah.
Because either way, they're gonna put shame on you. They're gonna project all their beliefs and the narratives of the world, and that's something I've had to learn very hard. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you have had to learn very hardly.
Yeah, 100%. Whether you're true to yourself or not, you're
Yeah.
gonna you're gonna go through some shit, and some shit are gonna be projected onto you. So you might as well be true to yourself and be you along the way. That's a lot easier to deal with life.
It is, and sometimes we forget how hard that can be, like,
Mm.
and how easy it can be.
Well, we're not taught that. Yeah.
No, we're not taught that, and it's like it's something that the schooling system. It's that's a whole different topic altogether. Go on to
That's a
that.
whole other
A whole, yeah, whole
wormhole.
other day episode. Um,
100%.
but for listeners and viewers, like where can they find you? Like what have you got coming up that people might be intrigued in?
At the moment, so I've got a workshop on Sunday, no, Saturday on the 28th,
Hmm.
coming on the Gold Coast. That's going to be a bit of like for queer, trans people, have a safe space to be surrounded by community and do that kind of work with breath work, and some mindset identity work as well. So that'll be pretty fun. And otherwise, at the moment, it's just one-on-one
Okay, cool.
one-on-one work, yeah, over on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are. And you can find me at Alex Transcend on all platform, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah,
Cool. I'll get you to send it through and I'll attach it in the link for people and yeah, it's
yeah,
good to know
awesome.
where people can find you. I mean, I'm sure you'll be running this workshop again.
Yeah, at the moment, like I'm about to go traveling Australia, so I will take that around Australia. But at the moment, I'm not too sure how that's going to look like. So for in-person work, it's so far I've got the Gold Coast on the 28th of June, and then after that, I'm just going to see how it looks like for the in-person once I'm traveling.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, look, thank you again for jumping on. I really appreciate you sharing a bit about your story, and it's always good to have different people's perspective on the world, and I'm sure that people take so much from this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Carl. It was an amazing conversation.
No dramas.